I wanted to go to a tweet from this Harrison H. Smith on X. I hear he's a pretty good follow. This federalizing of police. I don't want to, not that anyone in here is ever swayed by my opinions, but like, I don't want to poison the well. I just want to go down up the panel here and get everyone's thoughts. Because I think Luke kind of posted up, what do you guys think post? And Harrison's was a little more pointed. And I hadn't seen if Hannah Claire commented. So
yeah, I made a full video about this that just came out like a couple hours ago. So I have my comment on it. That's more definitive.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Well, let's go to Harrison first. What do you think of this? Taking control of DC with federal police. By the way, saying he'll go to New York, Chicago, and other cities like DC too.
That I'm less okay with. I mean, I'm sort of fine with the DC police being federalized because that is supposed to be. I mean, it was founded as a federal district. It's not actually supposed to have its own like local government. It's supposed to be administered by Congress. So I don't think that's that big of a violation or that big of a stretch. And I think it's definitely necessary when you see the way that crime is happening in DC. And I don't know if y'all saw the story about how they've been systematically basically lowering their crime statistics for years. So
just Google Washington DC mayor. And that will, or just how about mayor of Cincinnati? Or how about, like there's a lot of...
When they're lowering the crime statistic, then you have the mainstream media say, well, it was really, there was a lot of crime in 2023, but for the last 2 years, it's been consistently low. You want to be like, I wonder why. It's crazy how you've just turned it around.
And it's crazy how crime is down, but there are White House, interns being assaulted every week. That's funny how that happens. So, it's a total cluster. It's the Hegelian dialectic at work. And the beauty of the Hegelian dialectic, the problem reaction solution, is that the problem is real. You have to deal with it. Like they actually cause problems. There's this idea when we say false flags, people think that means the event didn't happen, but a false flag is a false flag. The event happens. It's just under, an assumed identity. You're pretending.
Not what you thought it was.
Yeah, it's not done who you thought it was or for the purpose that you think it is. Yeah. So they made our streets less safe. You have to do something to get safety back. We don't have to be less safe just because the local government refuses to fund the police. So you either have to privatize or federalize. I'm against both of those things, but that's the obvious conclusion because people are not going to accept being less safe. They're going to have police either by paying for it themselves or by, having the federal government do it. I wish this wasn't the case. I much prefer local police, but they defunded the police, and so Trump's having to step in. I'm against it in principle, but I understand the necessity of it with the out-of-control crime rates and the inability or unwillingness of the left to do anything other than exacerbate it.
What do you think, Luke?
Martial law, posse comitatus violations. How dare he? I'm kidding. I'm being ridiculous. I think you need a nuanced perspective on this because it's going to be interesting to see how it's carried out. Then we could actually come back with a kind of decisive decision here. Obviously, the left loves to release criminals, and some people say, listen, they're a left-wing city. They're ruled. They want to live in hell. Let them live in hell. I think the right is looking at Bukele and they're seeing, well, look what he did in El Salvador. And I think this is why this is being implemented the way that it is. I'm a little bit worried whenever a government comes out and says, give up a little bit of your civil liberties and we'll keep you safe. Now, hopefully that's not what's happening here. Hopefully it's just the bad guys being held responsible for bad actions. Hopefully a lot of innocent civilians don't lose their civil liberties and constitutional Fourth Amendment rights in the process. As long as that happens, I'm okay with it because the level of criminality in this city is insane. I lived in Washington, D.C. It is a hellscape. It is a crap hole country.
Well, the guy with the best sources on the internet, Benny Johnson, used to live there, and they tried to burn his house down. And there was he had security footage from his camera of somebody starting his house on fire and a gang war that's spilling into his front yard. I've been to DC once when I went to Timcast. I was like, this place is a dump.
Yeah,
it is bad.
Yeah, I lived there and I hated it. So if they're going to actually hold criminals accountable for their action, great. It needs to be done since the left overwhelmingly has failed to do that and has promoted criminality. So it's a careful balance. I just hope that they respect civil liberties. We'll see how it's carried out. It's important not to judge before we see the implementation of it. How it's going to be implemented is how people are going to judge it. But so far, I think Bukele is the model, and I think the Bukele model is successful.
Anna Claire.
Oh, I just find Trump's obsession with making the capital city great just deeply charming. He's always talking about how we need, like, you know, the best buildings and our streets need to be clean, need to be safe, and it's got to be beautiful. And, you know, you can't make him not a city boy. And the fact that he's like, this is the heart of our country, this is our nation's capital, and people are getting mugged. Unacceptable. Yes, you obviously need to be careful about federalizing any kind of police force and civil liberties. But again, I just think Trump is ultimately one of the most patriotic people I know of in public eye today. And part of that is being like, we're not going to have a crime-ridden capital city. What does that say about us? And clearly, the mayor of D.C. and everyone who's advocating for D.C. statehood doesn't take it that seriously. Otherwise, I feel like they do something real about it. If it needs intervention, I understand. And
well, don't they already have like the Capitol Police? Isn't that kind of different than the regular police too?
Yeah, but they just do like Capitol building stuff. Like the D.C. Metro Police are a separate force from what I know about it. And again, like, it seems like it's not going so well. So probably we need to mix it up. I kind of, you know, again, it just goes back to this patriotism for me. Yeah. Why is our capital city such a mess? What does that say about us as a nation?
I'm going to have perhaps my most authoritarian take I've ever had ever.
Oh, no.
I 1,000% support this. I think Trump should flood every major city and make it safe. Here's why. The 2/3 of those people in those cities either didn't vote or didn't vote for this, and they are essentially captive in a prison that is a city that they cannot even afford. Like, it's all great to tell people to move, but most people can't just move. And they certainly can't just relocate states. It's not that simple. I remember famously during lockdowns, an argument that happened on Timcast that really rustled my jimmies, where someone was like, well, I just don't let your kids play sports. Well, just don't let you, like, it was crazy. It was over the jab. And I was like, that's the stupidest, irrational position I've ever heard. Like, people, like, there's a letter of the law. There's, I think everything both of you guys, every answer you guys gave is better than mine, obviously. But some part of me is like, fucking A. Like, we've got, send 20,000 National Guard into Detroit and clean it up. Send them into Cincinnati. Like, you don't think that the citizens, and now obviously that's a dangerous thing, and you know, they probably never leave, and it would be terrible. But like, could you imagine being able to walk down the street in downtown Chicago? No, I mean, that's a joke now. Like, you'd clean up all these cities, put these people in prison, keep them there, and show, and like, I just feel like the people who live in these cities probably wouldn't really have that big of a problem with it. It would be obviously a huge political issue, but I don't think that, you know, John and Jill Lunchpail, whose car gets broken into 11 times in a year, are suddenly going to feel upset that now they don't have to lock their front doors. Like,
you're making me think of San Francisco, because that's
what I mean, right?
They were one of the, you know, capital examples of like, we're going to have safe drug areas where we hand out needles or whatever brilliant idea they had. And so many residents were like, this is making the city unlivable. This is making it worse. It's already a challenging city because of the cost of living. But on top of that, having to be like, wasn't there a video of like one of those delivery robots getting mugged? Like, it was just
look at what we have to deal with
all the time.
Hannah Claire, look at what the American people have been beaten into submission to put up with. When you go to San Francisco, what do they tell you to do? Leave your windows open and your trunk open. Yep. They say, we're not going to solve the crime. You, the citizen, have to change your life to deal with this crime problem that we don't want to deal with. I don't care if there are like National Guard on the street of being deputized and arresting these people. This is not a civilized society. We shouldn't have to live our lives at the whims of crackheads and fentanyl heads constantly. Our laws should not be made to protect them. They should be made to, you know, it should be for the 99.5% of people that follow the law. Yet every city in California, Chicago, Detroit, these laws are getting passed to protect the criminals, and it's crazy talk. Like, and then they're getting put in prison and let out. I mean, how many freaking immigrants are going to kill American citizens? We just had another one that ran over somebody and they died. Like, I'm sick. I am unsympathetic about like ramping up, getting rid of these people and putting them in prison. Oh, we don't have enough prison space, Harrison Smith says. Yeah, well, build another prison. I don't care. I don't want to hear about we don't have prison room. Build another one. I'm fine spending money on prisons because it's the people who, so I'm almost done. The law-abiding citizens are the ones that the laws are supposed to protect, not these crackheads. Sorry, end rant.
No. It's not just that. It's not that they're not doing anything about the crime. They're putting their stamp of approval on it. Yeah. They're releasing people. They're downgrading their charges. I saw this personally in New York City, where police precincts were like, okay, we got to look like we're tough on crime. Oh, they assaulted someone. Just make it a regular assault, right? And they lower it to lower ratings, and the actual victims here are just being screwed over. Cops show up and they're like, "You want to report? Really? Are you sure you want to report? Weren't you involved? They're
all looking for green dildos, though, Luke.
Yeah.
There's 17,000 unsolved murders in New York City, but they're hot on that dildo case. I mean,
the best thing that's happened to the WNBA.
Yeah.
But it is the frustration that it's like, these are not real problems. I mean, basically none of the problems that we're forced to deal with are actual problems. They're all choices that are made by stupid/evil people to deliberately cause these problems. I mean, Austin's the best example, where the homeless issue was it wasn't a major issue a decade ago. And then the city council went out of its way to, pass a law that they could,
camp
sleep
on
anywhere.
The streets. Yeah.
Well, this is the best part. Any city property, anywhere, the parks, the sidewalks, outside of your business, they could sleep anywhere, except there was one place in the city that homeless people could not sleep, and it was the city council building. On the grounds of City Hall, you could not sleep, but everywhere else. So they volunteered the rest of us. So it's like, this was not a problem. They created out of whole cloth, and then they go, "Oh, gee, we need the federal government to come in and fix this." It's like, well, you really don't. But I guess if the locals keep, being tricked by Soros into voting for the people that let all the criminals out, I guess we got to federalize. But these are manufactured problems.
You're right. I think part of that is to just, if the tinfoil hat, although I don't have to really announce putting it on with this panel, including Hannah Claire. Like, some people believe that that's on purpose, right? Like, they're putting these super hyper liberal, look at that Soros-backed DA in Colorado, was it? Who, like a 16-year-old, what was that crime? Do you guys remember that? He killed somebody driving 120 miles an hour without a license at and the judge let him out.
What do they call it? He was wealthy and stuff, and he fled to Mexico.
No, I don't know if he was wealthy. The judge just didn't charge him. And she gave him some and it was some Soros judge. Or how about that dude that looks like a Somali pirate who tried to kidnap a kid and had been found mentally unfit at trial a dozen times. It's like, okay, well, so we're supposed to live with this guy? Bring back the institutions.
They just let that guy out today.
Right. That's what I mean. Why do we? I might feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Why do I have to live with that guy? Lock him up.
You don't want to live with him? You're so intolerant. Sorry, Harrison, go ahead.
I know. Yeah. It's because of his skin color.
It's absolutely on purpose, by the way. We did a big report a couple days ago because all the way back in 2014, I think it was, the Freddie Gray riots in Baltimore, people have leaked the organization documents from Antifa, and it's George Soros's son, Jonathan Soros, was the head of this organization called Friends of Democracy. And in the documents, they are both working with the government, working with the police. They have police commanders that are on their side going, all right, here's what you can do. You can hit us, but you can't use closed fists. You can't, don't throw rocks, but you can throw these other things. You're allowed to have violence in this area, but not over in this area. They're literally coordinating, and they say, with the intended outcome of creating a feedback loop leading ultimately to a greater presence of police in these neighborhoods. So it is absolutely coordinated and a gigantic show where the protesters and the police are in communication, planning all of this to create the situation where everything is privatized and federalized. I think it's absolutely on purpose.
To go to the chat, by the way, Wishbone says, I was a homeless drug addict. I changed my life and I've been clean and paying taxes for over a decade. But people like Jeremy would rather just see me in prison for life. I don't think at any point did I say drug addicts should be given a life sentence. Honestly, I think all drugs should be legal. You want to go that route? I'm saying if you're committing crimes, you should do the time. I'm not saying every crime. So I'm glad you turned your life around. But that's a good story. Why would you have gone to prison in that story? You got off drugs. You got a job. You're paying taxes. Why would you have ever been in prison? Yeah. If I understand addiction's a problem, But when Oregon decriminalizes it entirely and then does needle exchanges, and then for 20 blocks around the city center, everybody who lives there, house devalues by 75%, and they have addicts sleeping on their front lawns. I mean, who do you serve? Do you serve the drug addicts, or do you serve the citizens who pay taxes? I mean, that's a real thing. I think it was in Portland, or where like they couldn't turn their sprinklers on because addicts were sleeping on their lawns. And like they went to the city council and they're like, yeah, you can't, we'll give you a ticket. You have to let and then they were trying to sell their houses, which obviously who the hell's going to buy that? Right? You got bums camped out shooting up on your lawn. Like, you have to protect I'm just sick of regular people. Now, I don't have that problem where I live. You know, I live in this, in the country. We have a Republican sheriff who's an elected official. That stuff doesn't fly. But my heart kind of bleeds for a lot of these people that are stuck in these big cities and they just can't do it. People forget, like, dude, people vote Republican in San Francisco. And like, they get fucked. Like, they have to just deal with this. It sucks.
Listen, you know what the biggest solution to all of this is? Instead of sending in the federal government, instead of wasting more federal funds, National Guard, are you
going to say Project 2025 or
no,
whatever?
I've heard that was a great project.
This is the best solution. You allow people to defend themselves, and you allow people.
Well, that'd be great too. Yeah.
Right. Let's just and then crime would go down dramatically, and that's the perfect kind of solution that doesn't involve the government, involves people being able to stand up for themselves. And if we just allowed that, because you can't even have pepper spray in New York City. That's why a lot of the criminals run free and are able to do everything that they want. That's the solution that I want.
Yeah, Hannah Claire, bring us home on the end of this one. Yeah, let's wrap this segment up.
I think one of the other issues, especially when it comes specifically to drug addiction, is that it gets presented to the voters like a compassionate response, right? Like, we don't want people to get whatever you get from needles. We don't want them to, overdose in a place they can't get help. And so we'll have a place where they'll come and then we'll offer them services. We'll say, here, come to rehab, here, come to housing, come whatever. And the reality is, like, they don't want it. They don't respond to it.
Right.
Those programs aren't successful. And so we're pouring a lot of money into something that is not working. It means it's not serving the community, like the homeowners in the area. It's also not serving the people it's hypothetically supposed to serve. So you have all kinds of nonprofits and government officials, some I think nefarious, but some well-intended, collecting money and achieving nothing really. And that's not what we want. You have to be more efficient with these programs. And I think the reality is that it's not working, and I think it's fair to demand change.
I don't know if I'll finish this off with a recommendation. There's a documentary. I don't know if it was Brandon Buckingham or if it was Savannah. It might have been it was Savannah Hernandez, who talked about the insane amount of money San Francisco puts into their homeless homeless programs. Mm-hmm. 50 million a year, 500. There's some insane number, and it just hasn't done anything. And it's because the system is designed to not solve homelessness.
Oh, no. Sorry, correction, Quartering. It has done something. It's made the problem significantly worse. That's the real thing. It doesn't just not lower homelessness. The more they spend, the worse it gets. And I mean, some of the things like Hannah Claire's saying, I mean, there's a program in California that I think they finally discovered and stopped, but it was literally just buying bottles of vodka for homeless people. I mean, they just spent like tens of millions of dollars on that. How could that possibly help anybody? So yeah, I completely agree with Hannah.
Don't worry. New York City is going to spend $63 million on a trans-only homeless shelter. So first in the nation, really going to solve that problem.
Yeah,
how many solving.
Yeah, how many bums are just going to identify as trans because it's going to have all the best stuff,
Of course.
Well, that's I mean, I think, Savannah's report was really good because she interviews this guy who, as Harrison pointed out, it's actually gotten worse. And they talk about basically all the bureaucracy that depends on this money that gets built up every year. If they solved homelessness, then they're out of a job. Mm-hmm. And that's that. I think Joe Rogan also interviewed somebody about this. And it's really true. Like, this is one of the problems with government. Like, government... everybody there that's making six figures is like, well, if we solve the problem, then we're out of a job. So it's a problem of incentivizing too. Like, we should say you get paid $50,000 a year, and then we'll give you $10 million if you solve the problem, or $50 million or whatever.
Right.
Like, pay them to solve it and then let them win the lottery if they do. Something like that would be the only way you actually solve it.